Bonjour, I'm Felicia Londré, and this is session 5 of 5 Minute Molière, sponsored by Casey Molière 400 in 2022. Today I'd like to talk about one of Molière's best friends, who was not a member of his theater company, and really not even a theater person at all. Jean de La Fontaine was only 6 months older than Molière, but he lived 22 years longer. You probably recognize his name. He was the second of the 3 greatest authors of fables in the entire history of world literature. The first, of course, was the 6th century BC Greek writer Aesop, and the third one was the 19th century Russian Ivan Krylov. Now, before I go back to the second greatest writer of fables, 17th century Jean de La Fontaine, let me answer a question. Somebody has asked why I use book covers for my visual aids. The first answer is concern about copyright. If I use the book covers, I don't have to worry about violating anyone's copyright with my images. And as you might have guessed, I do have my cue cards on the back of the books. Well, Molière and La Fontaine were good friends because they were both easygoing. They both had artistic enemies who attacked them out of jealousy or whatever reason, because they thought they violated the rules. And Molière and La Fontaine just sort of shrugged it off. They could, or they turned it into comedy and wrote mockeries of it. La Fontaine did write some plays, but he remains best known as a poet, and because his fables were, of course, in poetry. And we should mention that in his personal life, he was quite the libertine. Molière and La Fontaine probably didn't meet before 1661. But they both had career milestones in 1658. That was the year Molière first performed before the king, Louis XIV, and as a result, got a Paris theater for his company. That was the year that La Fontaine was hired as resident poet by Nicolas Fouquet. Fouquet at that time was a very wealthy patron of many artists and wanted the best, and so he got La Fontaine. Molière and La Fontaine were in their 40s when they formed a small circle of intellectual artists with 2 artists in their 20s, Nicolas Boileau, the critic, and Jean Racine, the playwright. They met every week at the Pomme de Pin Tavern to talk about verse and critique each other's work. The big difference between Molière and La Fontaine was that Molière got a pension for writing to please the king. La Fontaine lived in near poverty most of his life. His fables are full of between the lines critical observation of king and court. And I hope I have time to give you an example. My favorite fable is The Wolf and the Lamb, and it makes the point that might makes right. Innocence doesn't necessarily count when you're up against an authority. La raison du plus fort est toujours la meilleure. Nous l'allons montrer tout à l'heure. Un agneau se désaltérait dans le courant d'une onde pure. Un loup survint à Jean qui cherchait aventure et que la faim en ces lieux attirait. Qui étaient si hardis de troubler mon breuvage, dit cet animal plein de rage. Tu seras châtié de ta témérité. Sire, répond l'agneau, que votre majesté ne se mette pas en colère, mais plutôt qu'elle considère que je me vais désaltérant dans le courant, puis ne vint pas dessous d'elle, et que par conséquent, en aucune façon, je n'aurais pu troubler sa boisson. Tu la troubles, reprit cette bête cruelle, et je sais que de moi, tu médis l'an passé. Comment l'aurais-je fait si je n'étais pas née? J'étais encore ma mère. Si ce n'est toi, c'est donc ton frère. Je n'en ai point. Si c'est donc quelqu'un des tiens, car vous ne m'épargnez guère. vous, vos bergers et vos chiens. On me l'a dit, il faut que je me venge. Là-dessus, au fond des forêts, le loup l'emporte et le mange, sans autre forme de procès. Voilà. Merci.